people then weirdly becomes bad news, because as you raise interest rates, you expect that the economy would contract. You expect that, corporations would be worried about the borrowing costs of paying that extra interest. And as the result of that, they might slow some of the business decisions down. As the result of that, there might be layoffs. And as the result of that, people would stop spending as much money because they would be worried about job security. None of those things, right, have kind of fallen in line the way that we would expect them to. And I think the interesting thing is, in the past, when we've gotten numbers like this, the next thing you do is check the stock market, because you're like, okay, the stock market's also going to head south on this news, because it's the opposite of what the Federal Reserve wants to see. I also, though, think we are now in this new place where we almost think, okay, it's reasonable to assume that the Federal Reserve is going to keep interest rates higher at the same time that the economy would continue to expand and consumers and all of us would continue to spend money, because it's kind of the space that we've been operating in. It's almost like this new normal we've created in this situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. So sitting across the table from people doing financial plans, people are starting to think a little differently because we are in a higher rate environment, of course. And so people are thinking, what do I do in this case? Are there different decisions I would make? So before, it used to be, I'm going to mortgage the daylights out of my house because I can get 2.7%, and I'm going to keep a bunch of money sitting in cash because I'm just getting such a good deal on my mortgage. But now we're having conversations that, Amy, I haven't had in 30 years, reminding people that they're allowed to get interest on their savings and on their deposits through money market accounts and CDs. And people are asking permission. Is it a good idea if I buy a 1 or 2 year CD? These are things that are not particularly scary, right? It's just, I think they're just confused by how positive they can be on the things that we've been kind of poo-pooing for the last several decades because rates have been so low. So the whole point of this is that businesses are making different decisions as well, differently than they would have done in the past, because it's simply a different environment. Doesn't mean we can't function. It just means the playbook is a little different. And as we're sitting here, the stock market is up 10% again this year. It's been on an absolute tear since October. And we know that sooner or later things are going to pull back a little bit. But these are all things that it just kind of goes to show we want to stick with the plan. Don't try to guess what's coming, because if you looked at the headlines without any regard for what the stock market was doing at the time, you would have looked at the headlines of rising interest rates and you would have said, this is going to be a scary time for the market. I should batten down the hatches and get really conservative. Well, this would definitely have put you in one of the camps of trying to time the market, because these last 3 or 4 months have been one of those periods where if you weren't in it, that's going to have repercussions for years to come, because if you tried to take the safer path.
You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial. I'm Amy Wagner, along with Brian James, who's in for Steve Ruby tonight, as we digest, the latest jobs report. Not what economists were predicting, not necessarily what the Federal Reserve was hoping to see. But I think you have to look at this and say, okay, what's the Fed's next move, right? What are they going to do next? And, over the past week or so, we've heard the Federal Reserve, many of the voting members kind of speaking out, Cleveland, San Francisco, Minneapolis, Atlanta, all of those voting Fed members, and they're saying different things, but they're kind of all the same message, which is, okay, there was a time in January, maybe when we were thinking we were going to start lowering interest rates, maybe even in May, or there was time even they thought maybe in March. And now it's like, okay, when you have these numbers coming in so robust, showing that the economy seems to be completely impervious to everything that we're doing. And they have said too, hey, the closer we get to 2%, the harder it's going to be to get there. But what the Federal Reserve doesn't want to do is start lowering interest rates right now. And then you have the economy completely heat up and all of a sudden inflation gets out of control all over again, right? There's precedence for this. We saw this in the early 80s, double dip recession. It was incredibly ugly at the time. So I think most of the Fed members are now saying, hey, let's sit where we are right now and wait and see what happens.
Yeah, so the Fed, of course, is led by Jerome Powell, but there are also regional Federal Reserves, and as Amy mentioned, in several different cities. And of course, all of their opinions count. They all get together every so often and make decisions in a manner of moving us the right direction. So right now, we're trying to gather opinions. This is what we always do in this phase of the game, of what do they all think. And every one of them made comments along the lines of, yeah, we think interest rates are going to come down, but probably not tomorrow. They're definitely leaving the door open for the idea that we may not get the rate cuts that we've been talking about. Phrases such as there's no urgency for the Fed to cut U.S. interest rates. And maybe we'll see something in the fourth quarter. Maybe we'll see 2 rate cuts, but there also might be no rate cuts. So definitely leaving the door open for what we're all really kind of hoping will not happen, which is no rate cuts at all. But it's seeming more and more likely that as long as things move the way they are, we're not really going to see that. So we're going to get some more reports, of course. So on Wednesday, we're going to hear the March inflation report. Expected to rise 0.3% for March. That doesn't sound like much, but remember, we have to annualize this. So if it goes up 0.3%, multiply that by 12, now we're at 3.6% inflation. That's not bad. It's certainly not 9%, but the Fed wants to get it down closer to 2.5 range. So it's been stubbornly stuck at that 3.5 plateau for a little while now.
And I think one of the things the Fed is looking at is the cost of housing, the cost of rent, right? And it's like you can't control everything. And so even as interest rates have risen, you have, and it's what we see right here in Cincinnati. We have Michelle Sloan on all the time, our real estate expert, and she's like, there's just no inventory. And when you don't have options, that's going to drive up the prices of home. And then, you've got housing, and then you've got, rents still high. All of that kind of peaked during the pandemic and in the years after. And for most people, when you rent a place, you rent it for a year. And so those contracts aren't necessarily all up yet. And so as some of those fall off, what you have to look at is, okay, are those pieces of property renting at lower rates? All of this is going to take a while to cycle out. And I feel like the interesting thing is that the stock market, Wall Street, is kind of impatient, and the Federal Reserve has to be patient. They have to wait and get as much data as they can together to kind of figure out, okay, what's the next smart move? I would not want this job. I do not know how much they get paid, but it is not enough, because right now, it's like everyone's the great Monday morning quarterback. Fed should have done this. They should have started hiking interest rates earlier. They should have done this. They should have done that. And I think at this point, what they're doing makes a lot of sense. Wait and see. We need more data to come in. We need more time to pass in order to figure out, okay, should we now begin to lower these interest rates, or are we good? And I think you made an excellent point earlier, Brian, which is, okay, the stock market wants these rates to go down, but while they're not, what's the smart thing to do? As an investor, look for the silver lining. If you still have the cash on the sidelines, we talk all the time about the importance of an emergency fund. Make sure that money is getting interest, right? You're earning interest on those dollars. There are relatively safer places to have your money right now than ever before. How long that lasts, we don't know. But while it's an option, definitely take advantage of it.
Yeah, you should be getting at least 4.5%. And that's actually kind of on the low side. But for a money market savings account or a CD or whatever, it's actually not very hard to get 5%. But you need to, a lot of times, let go of the idea that I have to use this brick and mortar bank because Eunice the teller has been there for a bazillion years, right? Nothing wrong with Eunice, but at the same time, those big banks aren't going to give you the highest rates you can possibly get. Open your mind and look at some other things too.
Here's the all-worth advice. Wednesday's inflation report, well, you could expect maybe more market volatility depending on what comes out. Listen, don't worry about that. Hopefully you've got a financial plan that focuses on the long term. Just expect some market volatility in the short term. And as we speak about volatility, skittish investors are turning what's always considered to be a safe investment, and the value of that is rising, and it's our concern. We're going to talk about that next. You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial here on 55 KRC, the talk station.
This is a 55 KRC traffic update.
From the UC Health Traffic Center, UC Health has been performing life-saving transplants and providing second chances in Greater Cincinnati for more than 55 years. Couple of accidents in your way, 275 west approaching Mineola Pike, State Route 4 south of the bypass, and there's a disabled on the right shoulder of 71 south after Dana Avenue. I'm John Crawford with traffic.
They're modern-day con artists, and they're the focus of Creating a Con, a true crime anthology podcast. Season 1 spotlights Ray Trapani and his tech startup scam, endorsed by DJ Khaled and Floyd Mayweather, and built on empty promises and millions from bilked investors.
If someone's like, oh, what's your best way of making money? I don't think start a business. I'm like, oh, we should start some sort of scheme, and I can't help it.
Listen to Creating a Con on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search Creating a Con.
Hey folks, Gary Sullivan here. It's Champions Replacement Window season, and we're celebrating with buy 2 windows, get 2 free. Listen, if your windows are drafty, difficult to operate, or costing you money on your energy bill, it's time to replace them. Champion Windows is here to help. Stay comfortable in your home with energy-efficient Champion Windows. Right now, buy 2, get 2 free. Hurry, this sale won't last long. Call or visit ChampionsSaveNow.com. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. See store or website for details.
Hey, it's Jesse Kelly. Are you still on the fence about owning gold? It's time to pull the trigger with the Oxford Gold Group and buy gold and silver. Nobody can predict the future, but we can't put our head in the sand either. The Oxford Gold Group are the pros. They make owning gold and silver simple and easy to understand. Call Oxford Gold Group right now, and you may qualify for up to $10,000 in free precious metals. Call 833-995-GOLD. That's 833-995-GOLD.
Fraudulent tax returns due to identity theft increased by 30% in 2023. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. Their U.S.-based restoration specialists are dedicated to helping solve identity theft issues, and all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, which means if you lose money because of identity theft, LifeLock will reimburse you up to the limits of your plan. Help protect your information with LifeLock. Go to LifeLock.com and save up to 25% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code.
55 KRC.
Allworth Financial, a registered investment advisory firm. Any ideas presented during this program are not intended to provide specific financial advice. You should consult your own financial advisor, tax consultant, or estate planning attorney to conduct your own due diligence.
You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial. I'm Amy Wagner, along with Brian James. If you can't listen to our show every night, you don't have to miss a thing that we talk about because we've got a daily podcast for you. Just search Simply Money. It's right there on the iHeart app or wherever you turn to get your podcast. Coming up at 6:43, we're looking at a specific type of real estate investment. Does it make sense for you? We'll take a look. All right. Well, big day here in Cincinnati. Kind of. We have a brand new publicly traded company. Before you start to check the papers and like, wait, what is this? What's going on here? Well, maybe it's kind of like something old is new again, or something new is old, something like that.
Yeah. So a while back, we reported on the news that General Electric was going to split up into a few different public companies. So this is kind of the opposite. We spent years, Amy, talking about how General Electric was kind of its own mutual fund because they got into everything. They made light bulbs, they made dishwashers, they did long-term care insurance, and of course, a whole lot of stuff in the energy phase. But kind of probably maybe a little too big, too fast, and became very sluggish over the decade. So the resolution to that is for them to become smaller and more nimble. So GE Aerospace is going to split up, is going to be one of the companies alongside GE Vernova, which is the energy space, and GE Healthcare, which is, of course, healthcare. So it's still based in Evendale. That part's not changing, but it's its own independent company now, and it'll still, the GE Aerospace will still trade under the ticker symbol GE, so they get to keep the legacy there, but it will not be impacted anymore by the financial outcomes of the energy side and the healthcare side. They're just going to worry about aircraft engines.
You and I, through the years, have spent a lot of time, talking to groups of people, and we have always had this, huge GE presence, obviously, here in Cincinnati. And I think, Allworth Financial, Simply Money before that, has always had close ties to GE. So we spent a lot of time in rooms with the people who, kind of raised this company up and feel really strongly and are very loyal to it. And so it's been really tough to kind of watch the sort of fall. It was in the Dow, and then it was out of the Dow, and then, it was paying dividends, and then it went down to a penny. And it's been really tough. And I think, many times this is what happens. Companies almost, it's like they get too big for their britches, and they quit focusing on what they really know. And, they were on appliances, and they were on insurance, and they were doing all of these other things. And what they've decided to do is get back to their roots. And I think this could be a really, really good thing. And, interestingly, just for some historical perspective, GE kind of came together from 3 different companies that made one, and now we're going back to 3 different companies. And so this is kind of the first move in that direction. And certainly as a hometown team, we hope it's a really successful one for them. We were just talking about the last segment that expect market volatility in the near term, right? As the Federal Reserve, our nation's central bank, does everything it can to try to bring inflation down. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a while. Markets are going going to be all over the place, maybe in the near term. And whenever there's any kind of uncertainty, one thing that you could count on is that when you turn on your TV, there's going to be commercials telling you that gold is the answer, right? Whenever there's uncertainty, because gold, I think, is this very emotional kind of an investment. You can't necessarily see that share of Procter & Gamble. You can't necessarily see that share of Facebook, Nvidia, Meta, whatever it is. But you can see that gold bar. And so I think it feels safe. And so a lot of headlines out there around gold right now. We want to talk about some of those and give you our take.
So why is gold in the headlines, Amy? Well, it's kind of been the dark horse. Whenever we go through trying economic times and craziness, some people will run to gold, and that pushes the price of gold up. So gold is up about 11% for 2024. And there are those out there who see gold headed even higher, not just driven by the Federal Reserve's decisions, just for the overall opinions of the market. So, but with just speaking to people sitting across the table, having done financial plans for them, what I hear is something it's what a commodity is. When people are interested in gold, they're simply saying, well, a bunch of other people are buying it. Maybe I should too. Rather than, well, no, this XYZ company has invented this product and I think it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be successful. Or this company has made some bad decisions. I think I want to get rid of it. You can't do that with gold. Gold is worth nothing more than the opinion of the overall market. And it's predictable in a sense of whenever we hit times of turmoil, gold will run up, and then you'll start to see commercials, and they tend to be with people with British accents, because we know British accented people are smarter than we are, right? That's how that works.
Anyone with a British accent, I'm always listening. Like, so, yes. I am tuned in. So I do
subscribe to your newsletter.
Exactly. Yeah. I do get that. You must know what you're saying because I love your accent. And here you've got just one headline that we've seen recently. Veteran strategist says, grab your hammer and pick, because he thinks gold is headed to 3,000. This guy, David Rosenberg from Rosenberg Research, making this big prediction. But it's like, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you where markets are going to go, but I can tell you this. If there's any volatility, people are going to be talking about gold. I do not need a crystal ball to know where people are going to go. It's an emotional decision, and when you look at just historical perspective here, please Google it. Google the S&P 500 over the past 100 years. Look at where that graph takes you. And then look at gold and where that takes you. And if you're still thinking about gold, call me, because I think maybe you're reading the graphs wrong. It should be a no-brainer. And so when they're talking about, okay, gold up 11% this year because people are flocking to gold, they're making this emotional decision. Well, the S&P 500 is up 9% so far this year. Let's go back an entire year. The S&P 500 is up north of 25%. Gold up 16%. It's like the farther you go out, the farther you look back on how either the stock market does versus gold, the stock market is the clear winner every time.
Yeah. So gold hits the news when it makes a big move. And that's what's happening right now. There have really been two big spikes in gold over the last couple of years, and we're sitting on one right now. Had you owned it maybe over the last 6 weeks, yes, you would have seen a spike in your returns there. But at the same time, the stock market's done pretty well too. The stock market has actually held up a lot better and has had steadier returns over the last 2 years. So don't get sucked in by what's going on in terms of anything that moves quickly. It's really no different than the Beanie Baby craze or cryptocurrency when it was at its peak. These things are going to move up and down based on demand alone, and you'll never be able to predict it. Versus, I know how to calculate how profitable a company is and what to expect out of a stock.
My former co-hosts on the show, right, Nathan Backrack and Ed Fink, used to always say there are two reasons why you need to invest in gold. And the first time they said it, I leaned forward, what is this? And they said to say, I'm sorry, or I love you, right? Buy the gold jewelry for the people that you love or someone that you need to apologize to. That makes sense, right? That's an investment in those relationships. But as an investment in your future, trying to reach financial goals, trying to retire, there are clear other investments that are going to outshine gold every day of the week. So when you look at periods of time like this, when gold is doing well, it is because other people are making these emotional decisions. If gold for some reason makes sense for your financial plan, which most of the time it doesn't, great if that's your long-term financial plan. But don't just go to it in times when there's headlines about it, because that does not turn out well. Here's the all-worth advice. Want to buy gold? Again, only if you need to tell someone I love you or I'm sorry. Coming up next, aging in your home. If that's your plan, there's some challenges you might need to think through. We'll talk about those. You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial here on 55 KRC, the talk station.
More inflation.
People are feeling it.
More aid. To aid Ukraine. More chaos.
Hundreds of illegals busting through the border.
More spin.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
Get more clarity on the day's news.
Crystal clear.
55 KRC, the talk station.
Low testosterone affects many men today, even men as young as 30. But finding someone you can trust for quality low T treatment isn't so easy. This is Jeff, the CEO and one of the founders of Tri-State Men's Health, and I'm excited to announce the opening of our newest Tri-State Men's Health location right here in Northern Kentucky. Because as a Promenic affiliate, Tri-State Men's Health has the experience and expertise to get you the right treatment for your particular medical situation. Tri-State Men's Health is the leader in treating low testosterone. In fact, we've successfully treated thousands of men for low T and seen the amazing impacts low T treatments have. If you're like most men, you'll sleep better, have more energy and improved mental clarity, get better gains in the gym, and your sex drive will likely improve as well. So call us. Just $99 to get you a PSA and T test and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 800-900-9654. That's 800-900-9654 or go to tristatemenshealth.com. We have 6 offices across the tri-state area to serve you. Tri-State Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice.
Hi, it's Brian Thomas here for Foreign Exchange. If your car's warranty is close to expiring, you should let Austin and his team of highly trained service technicians inspect your car and give you an itemized list of things that may need to be replaced so you can get them replaced, of course, before your warranty expires. Foreign Exchange has the right equipment and experience with data access to all the manufacturer's technical information. They do software updates, programming, so they'll be able to determine what repairs need to be done. Visit them online at foreignx, that's foreign.x.com.
The free iHeartRadio app has over 100 commercial-free stations waiting for you to explore right now, like Lost 80s, playing those songs you forgot you knew from the 80s.
Gotta get back in time.
Duran, Huey Lewis, Tina Turner, and more, all commercial-free. Just open the free iHeartRadio app, search Lost 80s, and listen now. iHeartRadio. Free never sounded so good.
St. Jude continues to advance by increasing cure rates in childhood cancer. And donors are important to us because you get the feeling that you have a team behind you. When it comes to research and advancements, there are some things that only we can do because we have the resources and we have the focus. And so if St. Jude doesn't do it, who will?
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
55 KRC, Tri-State weather.
We'll see mostly cloudy skies develop tonight, the low dropping to 57. Cloudy Tuesday with showers and possible thunderstorms in the afternoon, a high of 68. Showers Wednesday with possible thunderstorms in the late afternoon and evening, a high of 66. That's your latest weather forecast on 55 KRC.
From the UC Health Traffic Center, UC Health has been performing life-saving transplants and providing second chances in Greater Cincinnati for more than 55 years. There's a few accidents in your way. State Route 4 south of the bypass, 275 west approaching Mineola Pike, 75 south after Union Center Boulevard, and there's a disabled vehicle on the right shoulder of 71 south after Dana Avenue. I'm John Crawford with traffic.
This report is sponsored by Discover. As humans, we like having options. One option you might like is speaking with a real person when you call about your credit card. With 24/7 live U.S.-based customer service from Discover, everyone can talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Here's the very latest from around the globe from the 55 KRC News Center.
Today's solar eclipse is history, and those who were in the path of totality are talking about what it was like. This man traveled to the Texas Hill Country to see it and says he'll never forget the experience.
You just can't describe how that feels. It just starts to get dark in a matter of seconds, and then for the brief moment where it actually did, the clouds broke enough so we could actually see totality here. The greatest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen anything that cool.
The next total solar eclipse won't be visible again from the contiguous United States until 2044. Former President Trump is wading into the abortion debate. In a video posted on Truth Social today, Trump said he believes abortion laws should be left up to the states to decide. A report says at least 3 people are dead after a shooting at a law firm in the Las Vegas area. The incident happened in Summerlin at the Prince Law Group. KTNV says the shooting took place during a deposition and the shooter killed 2 people. I'm Brian Shook.
This is 55 KRC, an iHeart radio station.
You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial. I'm Amy Wagner, along with Brian James. Brian, how many times through the years has someone come into your office talking about retirement and they say, what I really want to do is retire to a nursing home? Sign me up for that, right? I want to get out of my house and I want to, live in a nursing home. Does that happen pretty often?
Let me count on my, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Never. That's actually never happened. Right?
Yeah.
So people don't really think that's in the plans. But at the same time, it does happen. So what are some stats? 8 in 10 adults 50 and older want to age in place in their homes. I'm kind of wondering about those other two. Maybe they just don't like their house.
Maybe they're not thinking about their future.
Exactly. Maybe they're thinking about, well, they must mean I want to move to the beach or something. Of course I want to do that. But in order for that to happen, 7 out of 10 are going to need some support. So what we're talking about today is home health care. Someone coming to your house instead of you moving to a nursing home, someone coming to your house to take care of some things for you. So, and that has gotten expensive. Go figure, we're in inflationary times. Average cost of a home health aide, Amy, they help out with things like bathing and dressing and eating, those kinds of things. It was $75,000, a little over $75,000 in 22. This is according to Genworth, assuming somebody who'd need about 40, 50 hours a week. It's about $33 an hour, so it's a little pricey. But at the same time, if that's what you're planning on doing, then of course we got to talk about that in terms of an overall financial plan.
Yeah, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade. And one of the good things I think that came out of the pandemic, when there were such terrible headlines about what was happening in these nursing homes, no fault to the nursing homes. It was just, if one person came up with COVID, it spread like wildfire. People couldn't see their loved ones. And I think a lot of people started saying, wait a second, I didn't even think about this before. Now I'm thinking about it, and I don't want to necessarily pick up everything and be in a, unfamiliar environment when I'm older. I want to stay at home. And so I think the conversation is good, but you need the stats to understand, okay, how do you prepare for that? The cost of aging at home aren't cheap. The cost of going to a nursing home aren't cheap. So I think what you have to do is have the facts. I always say knowledge is power. And I think this segment is kind of looking at that, right? What you need to know in order to be able to plan that. Because what you're talking about is, some of the stuff that you need just to get by, right? And survive. But then beyond that, you might need help with cooking, with cleaning, with running errands. My grandpa got Parkinson's when he was 86. So my dad found, and he had to go into a nursing home. He was the person who drove. My grandma, Evelyn Wagner, she never drove. So my dad hired someone to come in the house and kind of help her. She was getting close to 92. What we found Evelyn was doing with this person that we were paying is she was paying them to sort of Uber her to the mall, and she really wanted to go shopping. She just wanted companionship. She wanted to get out. But hey, that's part of it too. Like, she was trying to keep kind of some normalcy in her life. And as you age, it becomes harder to do. And some of the things that were completely free before, you now have to pay people to help them do it for you. And all of those costs add up. In fact, the price tag can be close to astronomical.
Yeah, and then what you're describing there too, that's sort of a lower level. So there's a home health aide. That's somebody who actually will, basically make physical contact with you to help you in and out of the bathtub, help you get dressed, help you eat, and so forth. Versus homemaker services. That's more cooking, cleaning, running errands for you. I think that's more like what Evelyn had.
Yeah.
So just kind of helping her keep things normal.
But sometimes you need both, right?
Right.
At the same time. And you talk about how those costs would absolutely pile up. I was just with a friend recently, her mom also with Parkinson's, but has recently gotten worse. So they have someone there during the day that kind of provides those, medical essentials and transferring her from chair to wherever she needs to go. But here's the thing. She was also saying, now we're starting to wonder whether at night she's always been by herself, if she can now handle that. She would wake up in the middle of the night and needed something. She may not be able to do that anymore. So you're constantly having to reassess the situation when someone is still living at home to say, okay, is the level of care that we have in this home, is it enough, or have things changed over the past few years and now we need more? And every time those changes are made, they come with a pretty large price tag.
They do. You've got people, obviously you want somebody you trust and somebody who is skilled at their job and patient and all those kinds of things. And that's not a minimum wage role. So either way, if you're looking for only the homemaker services or if you actually need a full-fledged home health aide, it's going to be $60,000 to $70,000 per year, according to these studies we've been reading. That's about $30 an hour. $30 to $33 an hour for one of these folks to come in your home. And here's the rub. Remember, Medicare does not cover most of this stuff. That is not something you should rely on Medicare for. Medicare is for your doctor visits, your prescriptions, so on and so forth. It's not going to cover somebody to come into your home and help take care of you.
One of the hardest things, I think one of the hardest conversations to have with someone who's planning for their future in retirement is we can be sitting across the table from someone who's, 45, 55, even 65, and you're healthy. So it's really hard for someone to be telling you, okay, as a couple, you need to plan for $300,000 or $350,000 worth of healthcare expenses, because it's like, what? I'm not going to need that. I'm healthy. I have no prescriptions. Things can change. And so it's really hard to plan for this future version of yourself that you don't see when you look in the mirror right now. But if you can wrap your head around that, or at least begin to, there are things you can do to plan for it. And of course, the number one thing I'm going to tell you is a health savings account.
Oh my gosh, that's shocking.
Isn't it shocking? I know. I don't know why they don't even have my picture up when you Google HSAs. I'm such a huge proponent of these. If a high deductible healthcare plan makes sense for your family, this is a triple tax advantaged account. It is a gift from the government. There's nothing else like it. It is money that you may never have to pay taxes for if you save it and invest it and use it well. And I would say, if you've really been listening to the show, what you know is we're huge proponents also of having a strong emergency fund. If you can pay your healthcare expenses out of that emergency fund now, and you invest the money and that HSA, and you keep sending it forward to retirement, and that grows, like the one we're having now become much more doable
because you've planned ahead. So an HSA stands for Health Savings Health Savings Account. Sorry, Freudian slip there. But as you mentioned, they're fantastic tools for financial planning. The thing that comes along with it, though, this is of course something you're doing while you're working. You have to have a high deductible healthcare insurance plan. So it's also important to make sure that plan gives you what you need currently. There's always cases we hear about every year where somebody had to switch off of the high deductible plan because it did not have the right doctors, right prescriptions, or whatever. But most of the time, it is a very good. It covers what you need, and it gives you some awesome tax benefits that you will not get anywhere. So health savings Amy's are very good ideas.
Huge fans. The key here is to plan, right? To know your options. When you're, around the age of 55, 60, you have to start thinking about long-term care. Used to be there were all these options in the marketplace, all of these providers that had different insurance policies. It's less and less of an option. And long-term care insurance is becoming more and more expensive. These premiums are not cheap. But the younger you look into them and the healthier you are at the time, the more that they can be affordable. And I think they're not necessarily the only option for you, but the key is to start thinking about, what can I do? Is one of these policies make sense? Do I have enough money in an HSA? Can I self-insure? But to just think, I'm healthy now, I'm not going to have to worry about it. That's the worst situation you can put yourself in.
That's how you paint yourself into a corner, and that could be pretty scary. So we want to make sure that we've budgeted something out there for that dollar amount. But don't let it terrify you either. Some of the expenses that you'll incur, heaven forbid you have to move into a nursing home, some of those expenses you incur are already occurring. You're not paying for food on top of, and electric on top of all these things. So don't treat it like it's a brand new expense.
Great point. Here's the all worth advice. The sooner you plan for those future healthcare costs, the better. Your future self will thank you. And as we talk about inflation, the cost of healthcare inflates at a much higher rate than the cost of everything else. So you've got to have a plan. Coming up, it's a simple way to invest in real estate, but does it make good financial sense for you? We'll talk about that next. You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial here on 55 KRC, the talk station.
Hearing what's happening.
I listen for it.
The local economic impact.
Senseless act of violence.
Understanding the country.
Invasion of illegal immigrants.
The voters in November.
Understanding your world.
A ceasefire.
The global supply chain.
To more inflation.
To understand is to listen.
I check in all the time.
To keep up with what's happening
every day.
I like to listen. Staying informed matters to me.
You got to listen.
55 KRC, the talk station.
People always say, have a nice day. Just nice. Why not have an ultimate day with $20 scratch-offs from the Ohio Lottery? There's $2 million ultimate cash with over $37 million in $50 to $500 prizes. Or Maximum Millions with over $59 million in total cash prizes. Both games have a top prize of $2 million. So why settle for nice? Take your day up a notch with the Ohio Lottery's $2 million ultimate cash and Maximum Millions. Lottery players are subject to Ohio laws and commission regulations. Play responsibly.
Hey, it's Brian Thomas. Spring is here, stating the obvious, and it's a great time to get your roof inspected and maybe even replaced. Hi, it's Brian Thomas, and I recommend you call Fasten Pro Roofing. And now, through April 30th, any customer that signs up for a roof replacement will receive a free shingle upgrade to the Certainty Landmark Pro 50-year shingle. Fasten Pro Roofing is a highly reputable company that provides quality roofing and exterior repairs to your home. So give them a call at 513-774-9495 or visit fastenproroofing.com.
Hi, this is Mark Reckman, legal expert on Simply Money on 55 KRC. Call Wood & Lamping for all of your civil litigation needs, accidents, business disputes, breach of contracts. Call Wood & Lamping at 852-6000. Problem solved.
Are you in the market for a new car, or maybe you want to refinance your current auto loan? Did you know that you can use your car as collateral for a loan to secure funds for other big purchases or vacations? Yes, you can with Emory Federal Credit Union. Emory is offering up to 1% off your auto loan rate. So apply today. Visit EmoryFCU.org for all the details. Limited time offer. Loan subject to approval and certain restrictions apply. Visit EmoryFCU.org. EmoryFCU.org. An equal opportunity lender. NMLS number 401087.
Fraudulent tax returns due identity theft increased by 30% in 2023. If you're in a bind this tax season, LifeLock can help. Their U.S.-based restoration specialists are dedicated to helping solve identity theft issues, and all plans are backed by the $1 Million Protection Package, which means if you lose money because of identity theft, LifeLock will reimburse you up to the limits of your plan. Help protect your information with LifeLock. Go to LifeLock.com and save up to 25% your first year with my name, Clay, as your promo code.
Hey, it's Jesse Kelly. Are you still on the fence about owning gold? It's time to pull the trigger with the Oxford Gold Group and buy gold and silver. Nobody can predict the future, but we can't put our head in the sand either. The Oxford Gold Group are the pros. They make owning gold and silver simple and easy to understand. Call Oxford Gold Group right now, and you may qualify for up to $10,000 in free precious metals. Call 833-995-GOLD. That's 833-995-GOLD.
I expect it to be a lot easier.
I didn't know what step to take next.
I was transitioning from the military. I was a vehicle gunner.
An avionics specialist.
I missed my unit, my family.
Playing with my daughter, I felt like a stranger.
I didn't have a clear sense of what to do next.
And then I thought, if I'm going through this, other veterans have gone through it too, right? So I reached out, and I saw that I wasn't alone.
Go to MakeTheConnection.net to learn how other veterans have overcome the challenges of transitioning out of the military.
Your opinions are welcomed here.
Californians leaving California, they better not come to my street.
55 KRC, the talk station.
You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial. I'm Amy Wagner, along with Brian James. If you've got a financial question that's bothering you, there's a red button you can click on while you're listening to the show. It's right there on the iHeart app. Really easy to use. Record your question, and it's coming straight to us. We'll help you figure it out. And straight ahead, if you have looked at your home insurance costs, right, your bill recently, might be stressed out about that. We've got some ways that you can deal with those higher costs, some eye-opening information there. All right. I think a lot of times, Brian, when it comes to investing, an investment that feels really safe for people is real estate. You can't touch that stock that you own. You know it's a piece of a company, but you can't see it. You can't touch it. Real estate is something most of us can wrap our heads around. And so we're going to talk about a real estate investment trust, or REITs, which is something we haven't talked about on the show in a while.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, when we think of real estate, we normally think of the place we live in, the box that keeps all our stuff out of the rain. Or maybe if you're thinking investments, you might be thinking of an apartment building, yes, or something like that. So, but a lot of people are not comfortable with that kind of approach of directly owning real estate, because we don't want to plumb toilets during the holidays, right?
You're not signing me up for that.
Exactly. So there's a way you can invest in it without actually owning and deal with it. It's called a real estate investment trust, REIT, or pronounced REIT. It's basically sort of like a mutual fund or an exchange traded fund often that buys real estate on your behalf. It's a passive way to have real estate exposure, but you don't have to actually worry about owning that, whether there's leaks in the roof, those kinds of things. So just like any other investment, any other collective investment, like a mutual fund or exchange traded fund, they raise a pool of money from a lot of people, and then they go buy a portfolio of income generating real estate properties. Sometimes it's income generating. Sometimes they also want to buy it because there are growth opportunities. There's lots of ways to view real estate just like any other investment. It could be apartment buildings, shopping malls, hospitals. But the point is, you can take a relatively small amount of money and buy a portion of a larger portfolio of real estate.
Sounds great, right? I mean, real estate sounds like a great investment, and there are some times when it is. A couple of things to understand here. There are non-traded REITs and publicly traded REITs, right? And the non-traded REITs are very different and something I'm not necessarily a huge fan of. The publicly traded REITs, you mentioned mutual funds. You buy them and sell them whenever you want to. The non-traded kind are more long-term investments. They're not as easy to sell. You have to find someone who wants to buy this from you, which isn't so easy. And then also, you mentioned the different kinds of things, right, that REITs would normally invest in. Shopping malls. How's that working, right? If several years ago you invested in a REIT that invested in shopping malls, I don't know if you've been in one lately, but other than Kenwood Town Center, they're all like turning themselves into pickleball courts. I mean, there's just not a lot of options. Okay, let's look at commercial real estate, right? Going gangbusters in 2019, 2020, pandemic hit. Most of us aren't necessarily back in the office full time. Many companies scaling back on how many they've got in the office, how much the blueprint of, or the footprint of their commercial needs are. And so what seems like a no-brainer when it comes to real estate suddenly can't be. So I would just caution that while this often sounds like a great investment, you really got to know what you're getting yourself into here.
Yeah. So underneath the hood, you might find that the real estate properties are heavily leveraged because a lot of times these REITs, just like you, right? If you want to invest in your own property, your own apartment building, whatever, you might go get a loan to do it. Well, real estate investment trusts can do that too. They might use a combination of debt and equity to make a purchase like that. So what that means is that they are then subject to interest rate changes. And hey, guess what? We've had a couple interest rate changes. We're kind of through the looking glass in interest rates, and we're being reminded of what it was like 30 years ago. But if those investments had, as Amy, as you mentioned back in 2019 when everything was fabulous, if they had variable rate debt tied to those, well, that is a part of what you invested in, and you will have taken a loss. You'll have seen a lot of volatility because all of a sudden, where the REIT itself may have had expenses based off of maybe a 3% mortgage or something like that, it may have spiked to 5, 6, 7, even 8%. That's going to lower the overall value of the REIT share itself. So don't feel like just because there's real estate underneath it and they ain't making any more real estate is the common quote we always hear. But that doesn't mean that things don't go up and down. That's because it's publicly traded. That's literally what that means. That means you can look at the ticker symbol and you can see what the overall opinion of the market is on such an investment. Non-publicly traded REITs will not be as volatile as far as what you can see in your statement. But Amy, like you said, you're pretty much stuck with them until you can find a buyer for them, or they'll have maybe like a quarterly or sometimes an annual window where you can liquidate.
Another thing to think about here is because this is real estate, it's a little bit different when it comes to the IRS, right? You look at Meta, Facebook, you look at Apple. Much of their growth comes from when any money comes in, when they have revenue, that money goes into research and development, right? What's the next iPhone? What's the next AirPod? What's the next metaverse or whatever it is that we can invest in, that we can research, that we can grow this company? Real estate isn't that same way. IRS rules require REITs to distribute 90% of their annual earnings to investors. So REITs are actually only left with a really small percentage, right? 10% to reinvest in sort of growing that portfolio. Speaking of portfolios are managed, and so you're paying that manager. They do not work for free, a fee. So as you're looking into, does a REIT make sense for you? And sometimes they can be something that is a great investment, but you have to do your research. You have to know exactly what, first of all, those REITs are investing in. What are the fees? What is the future growth for those? And all of these things, I think, really need to be considered strongly before you pull the trigger on these. Here's the all-worth advice. We recommend contacting what we would say a fiduciary financial advisor. So someone who's putting your best interest ahead of theirs for advice on whether investing in REITs makes sense or not. Coming up next, we've got ways to lower your home insurance premiums. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but you're probably paying more. You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial here on 55 KRC, the talk station.
What continues going forward?
Running for president?
Folks, it's go time.
What needs stopping?
To stop illegal immigration.
We must drive them out.
What drives your day?
To drive down inflation.
And what stops you?
Crime on the streets.
In your tracks.
We will stop it.
Life, it's stop and go.
Real relevance in real life.
Keep up with our steady flow of updates.
The things that matter.
To continue onward.
55 KRC, the talk station.
They're modern-day con artists, and they're the focus of Creating a Con, a true crime anthology podcast. Season 1 spotlights Ray Trapani and his tech startup scam, endorsed by DJ Khaled and Floyd Mayweather, and built on empty promises and millions from bilked investors.
If someone's like, oh, what's your best way of making money? I don't think start a business. I'm like, oh, we should start some sort of scheme. And I can't help it.
Listen to Creating a Con on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart app and search Creating a Con.
There's way more winning at Turfway Park Racing and Gaming. Not a Turfway Park Players Club member? Sign up now and get $50 in free play to spin and win on over 800 hot games like Buffalo, Prosperity Link, Ultimate Fire Link, and many more. But don't delay. Sign up today, as this great offer ends April 30th. Visit turfway.com for details. Some restrictions apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, we missed you at the game last week. Is everything all right?
Just haven't been feeling like me lately.
You know I'm here for you, right?
That's a cut. Beautiful. Acting is one thing. Talking about suicide in real life is another.
In the military, you take challenges head on.
And now it's your turn to do the same for our veterans.
Be there.
Learn how you can start the conversation at BeThereForVeterans.com.
I wish I could just print money in my basement. Come on, Congress. Stop wasting our money.
Talk about it here. 55 KRC, the talk station.
You're listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial. I'm Amy Wagner, along with Brian James. We've talked so much over the past couple of years about inflation, right? You're paying more at the grocery store. You're paying more for so many of your bills. But Brian, I wonder how many people have been paying really close attention to their home insurance, because that has also made a pretty significant jump.
Yeah, I guess what just happened in the James household. I opened that envelope and looked at the premium.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, now I should know better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the difference between financial advisors and normal people is that we make the same mistakes, but we just generally know exactly what the impact of our stupidity is. So
exactly.
I hadn't been paying much attention, but sure enough, my premiums have risen, and we haven't had any claims or anything. It's just the way it is. Cost of home insurance up 20% across the country since 2021.
20%.
And this is because it's a lot of it has to do with weather, natural disasters, reinsurance costs, and just more expensive to get houses fixed when there is an incident. That all trickles back down to the insurance company, and they're wanting to collect more to be less at risk. So they're bringing in more money on the front end so that they can cover all of those risks out there. Here in Ohio, the average yearly premium for 24 is expected to be about $1,400. That's up about 5% from last year. A lot of us have in our heads that home insurance is $900, $1,000. That's a bit of a dated number. We need to be budgeting about $1,400. Kentucky, it's about $2,700, an 8% increase. Amy, you people are expensive down there.
It's funny. When I travel and people ask where I live, I say like, oh, Northern Kentucky. I'm essentially live in Ohio. And then I look at these numbers and I'm like, but darn it, I'm still paying Kentucky
You just
prices.
keep your premiums across the river.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not only home insurance, but we talked about on the show recently, car insurance, auto insurance is significantly higher in the state of Kentucky. I do not know what's going on in Kentucky, but I do know what's going on in other states that are obviously prone to severe weather. And we know that, okay, in Florida, yes, you're going to pay more for hurricane insurance, but also many of those costs are redistributed across these companies. So even though we're not necessarily directly impacted by hurricanes, our costs are directly impacted by hurricanes, right? And so you look at, states like Florida, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, Mississippi. You've got hurricanes, you've got tornadoes. California, I feel like the state's either on fire or it's shaking or it's always something. Those are costs that we all absorb in the form of our home insurance.
We do. And remember, even if you don't live in one of those areas, right? So Ohio is not particularly subject to hurricanes, for example. But even if you don't live in those areas, you still are paying for those increases because the insurance companies have to diversify their risk. Think back to Hurricane Andrew. For those of you who may have been around 30 years ago, Hurricane Andrew wiped out a lot of insurance companies down in Florida because they didn't have enough exposure elsewhere. So now, and then there's of course a lot of rules in place to protect those companies so that people can still maintain their coverage. So now if you're an insurance company, you have to spread your portfolio out across lots of different areas so that if you do have a hurricane in the hurricane prone area, then there's somewhere else perhaps in the mountains where people are buying health insurance to protect from different risks. But that's why rates are going up, because you are being impacted by things that don't necessarily directly impact you, but it could impact the insurance company, which ultimately does impact your coverage.
What can you do? Well, maybe you could increase your deductible, which will lower your premium. Discounts are making your home more secure. Bundling home and auto can often help. Shopping around, do your research. An umbrella insurance policy can also make sense here. Here's the all-worth advice. You can't control the factors driving the cost of your home insurance, but you can control how much you pay. The key here is to do your research. Thanks for listening. We hope you're going to tune in tomorrow. We're talking about the new magic amount of money people think you need to retire. You've been listening to Simply Money, presented by Allworth Financial here on 55 KRC, the talk station.
Joining the conversation is one thing.
Thank you for taking my call. Taking my call.
But when doing so gets difficult, there's the TalkBack feature on the iHeartRadio app.
Oh, cool.
How's that work?
Just tap, record, and send all within the app.
Hoping maybe you'd listen to me for just a quick second.
We the people will always find a way.
Because everyone's voice counts.
We are still going to make that attempt. We're going to get out there and be heard.
At 55krc.com.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. Ah, that's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
55 WKRC Cincinnati.
Witnessing a close call with the solar eclipse in the tri-state. Details in 2 minutes on 55 KRC, the talk station.
Just the news, just the facts. Now covering the world from the 55 KRC News Center.
Today's rare solar eclipse is over. Millions of people watched as the shadow of the eclipse moved from Texas to Maine. These people cheered as they watched the event at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The next total solar eclipse won't be visible again from the contiguous United States until 2044. Former President Trump will not get a change of venue for his upcoming hush money trial. The judge did not agree with his lawyer's argument that he cannot get a fair jury in New York in a Monday ruling. Trump is charged with falsifying business records in an effort to cover up an alleged sexual encounter with porn actress Stormy Daniels. Crews are removing cargo containers from the ship that crashed into Baltimore's Francis Scott Key Bridge late last month, causing it to collapse. Coast Guard officials say crews are making progress toward removing pieces of the bridge from the ship so they can take the weight off of it and start to move it. Over the weekend, workers removed the first piece of the bridge as the salvage work continues to untangle the wreckage. A major sports governing body is banning transgender athletes from women's sports competitions. Lisa Taylor reports.
The National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics Council of Presidents approved the policy in a unanimous vote Monday after a survey indicated heavy support for the ban. The association is a national athletic governing body for 249 small colleges across the nation that are part of the NCAA's 3 divisions. The decision doesn't apply to any NCAA competitions. The NAIA is believed to be the first national college governing body to ban transgender athletes from women's competitions.
Congress returns this week with a lengthy to-do list. In the House, Speaker Mike Johnson is facing pressure to put a sweeping national security package that includes aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan on the floor for a vote. I'm Brian Shook.
We're putting our money where our mouth is from the Steve Perrins Coordinated Financial Planning Studios. This is 55 KRC, the talk station, an iHeart radio station.
This is Jack Crumley with your 55 KRC Tri-State News Update. It was a once-in-a-lifetime event here in Ohio.
Watching not just the sun get swallowed up, but just watching the light sort of fade. And that was really special.
That is Jim from Hyde Park. He was at the Cincinnati Observatory in Hyde Park. Hundreds of thousands of people coming to visit Ohio as the path of totality for today's solar eclipse ran right through the state, mainly through Dayton and up into downtown Cleveland, where thousands have also gathered for the Guardians home opener.
I just cried. I've been wanting to see one of these since I learned about it in school, like in elementary school.
Ohio state leaders have been warning for weeks that traffic will be heavy. We are seeing slowdowns on roads and interstate highways as people are heading out from seeing the eclipse. I'm Jack Crumley. The forecast is next on 55 KRC, the talk station.
If it plugs and turns on whatever the make, get it all covered, 'cause everything breaks.
It's a fact. Things in your home are gonna break. Appliances and plumbing can cost hundreds to thousands to repair. Air conditioning, even more. Don't let home repairs break the bank. Call GoEverythingBreaks.com today and get a free quote for total home warranty protection. Everything Breaks covers major home systems and appliances, starting at $1 a day, including electronics, from cell phones to flat screens and more. Call in the next 30 minutes and get 3 months of coverage for half off. Plus, gain instant vehicle repair savings too. For a free coverage quote now, call 800-FIX-IT-77. That's 800-FIX-IT-77. One free call could save you thousands.
Get it all covered your way, 'cause everything breaks.
Limitations and exclusions apply. See plan terms and conditions for details. Coverage not available in all states. Actual savings may vary based on the coverage plan and repairs needed. Call 800-FIX-IT-77. Online at GoEverythingBreaks.com.
In this edition of the Marketers Report, Angela Zepeda, Chief Marketing Officer of Hyundai Motor America, discusses measuring audio.
The measurement capability within audio, I think, surprised all of us, but all of it's been extremely helpful, and we have seen a huge return on our investment. The methodology by which we're approaching audio and then seeing the real results with real numbers has helped us continue to invest moving forward. One of the things that's been really important for us is to see the extension of reach to new audiences that we could not really speak to before. We get about a 20% lift adding audio to our overall portfolio.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to all, from national to local, every audience, live conversations, trusted influencers, and the insights and data you need to grow. Not just a marketing company, iHeartMedia is your access company. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
55 KRC, Tri-State weather.
We'll see mostly cloudy skies develop tonight, the low dropping to 57. Cloudy Tuesday with showers and possible thunderstorms in the afternoon, a high of 68. Showers Wednesday with possible thunderstorms in the late afternoon and evening, a high of 66. That's your latest weather forecast on 55 KRC.
Today, 1 in 5 Americans experience emotional and mental health challenges, but many of us don't know how to ask for help.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, we work every day to eliminate stigma and advance mental health. Visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
As another presidential election looms,
the economy is growing.
This is MAGA country.
Conversation is happening here.
I think that we can do better.
55 KRC, the talk station. 55 KRC, the talk station.
All right, it's finally happening this week, ladies and gentlemen. We're on our way back to the University of Cincinnati for our first ever stadium live show, and we are fired up for this one.
You've only got a few days left to grab your tickets at GoBearcats.com/New Heights. Remember, a significant portion of all ticket sales are benefiting Cincy Reigns.
It's going to be quite possibly one of the best events to ever go down at UC. So stop everything you're doing and get tickets now.
Family owned and operated, R&L Carriers prides itself on quality customer service. With a nationwide network of service centers, our team works for you and your business, guiding freight across the U.S. and Canada. Speak with a representative to learn more about the company's guaranteed expedited and liftgate services. Our experts will take the time to create a custom shipping solution to fit your individual needs. Connect with us at rlc.com. One call, one carrier. R&L Carriers.
I'm Johnny B. Good, the host of the podcast Creating a Con, the story of Bitcoin. This podcast dives deep into the story of Ray Trapani and his company Centratech. I'll explore how three 20-somethings built a company out of lies, deceit, and greed.
I've been saying since a very young age that I was going to be a millionaire. If someone